It was on, and now it's okay. So, Rabbi Sai, so I want to share with you one ha'ara on Parshas אחרי. Nechama, just answer the calls, please. Okay, we'll get there. So one ha'ara on Parshas אחרי and one ha'ara on two ha'aras, time permitting, on Parshas Kiddushim. The pasuk says in regards to Avodas Yom Kippurim, "V'yotza al hamizbeh v'chiper olav v'lakach midam hapor." So Rashi over here wonders, what does it mean? V'yotza al hamizbeh v'chiper olav. I mean, that's what Aaron has been doing the entire day. What's that referring to? So Rashi merely says v'chiper olav u'mal kaparosai v'lakach midam hapor, which means v'chiper olav is just an introduction to what should he do. V'lakach midam hapor midam hasoyer. That's how Rashi learns. But the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel Rabbi Sai writes over here a very interesting thing. V'yichaper alohi b'ishtovas milaya, meaning that the Kohen Gadol would go ahead and be mechaper with his words. Now, what are those words that the Kohen Gadol that the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel is referring to? So the Gemara says in Masechta Yuma, and you're familiar with this from the Machzor Yom Kippur, that the Kohen Gadol would, when he would leave the Kodesh Kodeshim, he would say a tefillah kitzara. He would say a small little tefillah. Why a small little tefillah? Why small? Shloi lahavis ha'om. It's because he'd walk out of the Kodesh Kodeshim. Now remember, no one can see the Kodesh Kodeshim because no one's supposed to be in the oil. So it's taking time. People are wondering, did he drop dead in the Kodesh Kodeshim? So therefore, he would only daven a tefillah kitzara. Now, what was that tefillah kitzara? So the Gemara says in Yuman and Gimel Medbeis, Ravacha berei de Rava Misayim be Mishmei de Rav Yehuda lo yadi shultain midbeis Yehuda lo yi amcha Yisrael tzrichen lefarnasa zeh mizeh v'lo sikones lefanecha tfilas oivrei drachim. He davened for three things: that the sovereignty should not leave Klal Yisrael, which means we should not be under a foreign government, Roman, Greek, whatever it may be, Persian. That's obviously, we want Malchus Beis Yehuda. Another thing he would down for is Shelo Shei Amcha Beis Yisrael Shel Tzrichen Zel Zel Parnasa. Everybody should have their own independent Parnasa. One person shouldn't have to come on to another person. There should be no need for Avos Yisrael or Tomchei Shabbos or anything like that. Now that's one. Number two. Number three, and that the tefillas of the travelers you shouldn't accept their tefillas. Now, what does that mean? What do you mean they shouldn't accept their tefillas? The answer is because the travelers would travel and it shouldn't rain. Why shouldn't it rain? Because in biblical times and Talmudic times, there were no paved roads. And the only thing that you had was dirt roads. And if it would rain, it would get muddy. And if it would get muddy, you'd get stuck in the mud. So therefore, all travelers would daven, I don't want no rain, no rain. Now, that's not a good tefillah for the rest of Klal Yisrael. So therefore, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim, out of the three things that he asks for, don't accept the tefillah of the travelers. Now, if you think about Rabbi Isai, he has three things. He's davening for three things. Number one, he's davening that the sovereignty should remain in Beis Yehuda. Very important. That every Yid should have Parnasa. Very important. But you shouldn't accept the tefillas of the travelers that it shouldn't rain? Is that one of the big three? You know, in Eretz Yisrael, which isn't a Brazilian rainforest, so how often does it rain? You know, it rains the whole winter it doesn't rain. So this is so important that this is one of the three things that the Kohen Gadol asks for on Yom Kippur. What's the pshat in that? So I thought I saw what I think is a beautiful ha'ara in the sefer called Bei Chia, was written by Rav Elisha Horowitz. Rav Elisha Horowitz is the son-in-law of the Novominsker Rebbe. I don't know if any of you listened to it, but they're not on Tuesday nights. There were Hespedim. He was one of the Maspidim. Bei Chia is a beautiful sefer. So there he says, Rabbi Isai, he says an interesting pshat in a pasuk in Tehillim, which I think we're all familiar with. Rochaik mi Yeshuasi divrei sha'agasi. David HaMelech says, Rochaik mi Yeshuasi divrei sha'agasi. Divrei sha'agasi means my pleas, my shries. And Rochaik mi Yeshuasi, David HaMelech saying, I don't see the Yeshua. Rochaik mi Yeshuasi. Divrei Shagasi. That's the Pshutei Shal Mikra. He brings over here from the Sefer Divrei Yecheskel, who is the Shineva Rebbe, a novel pshat. And what does it mean? Rochei Mishuasi Divrei Shagasi. He says a lot of times people daven for something, and the Rebbe Hashem does do them a favor. He doesn't listen to the tefillas, because that is not something that you really want. I'm shraying Chai V'Kayim for something, but the Rebbe Hashem is doing me a favor and saying, no, I'm not going to answer this, because it's not good for you. So let me give you a mashal, Rabbi Isai, that many of you can relate to. The guy goes out with a girl. He thinks it's going well. He davens, Rebbeinu Shalom, please make this shidduch happen, make this shidduch happen, make this shidduch happen. That's his divrei sha'agasi. Those are his screams. Those are his pleas. But Rebbeinu Shalom, who's the Mezavik Zivugim, knows that that's not the right shidduch for this guy. So therefore, he doesn't answer his tefillas. Now down here, our feeling is, I'm screaming for the Yeshua, and it's not happening. That's because that's not the Yeshua. The Yeshua is Rachaik from Divrei Shagasi. Because Divrei Shagasi is about something that I'm asking for that's really not going to be good for me in the end. Or, if you're already married, but throughout life, Rabbi, so we daven for different things. Let's say you want to go ahead, you want a certain job. So you go ahead, you put your tefillas into it, you need the job, you need the parnasa. Divrei Shagasi. The Rebbeinu Shalom knows that this is not the right job for you. It'll be a disaster. So Rachaik mi Yeshuasi Divrei Shagasi. I'm screaming for the job. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not letting it happen because it's not good for me. You want to go into b'shutfis with a certain person, and you're hoping, I hope this is going to work. I want this to work. This is going to be a great deal. Going to make a lot of money. Rebbeinu Shalom knows the guy's a crook. He's going to wind up in jail, and you're going to left holding the bag. That's Rochaik mi Yeshuasi Divrei Shagasi. So Zoch the Bei Chia, this tefillah shloitikonis lefanecha tefillas oivei drachim is symbolic of the types of tefillas that we don't want to be answered, because the tefillas are short-sighted. You can only see what's in front of your nose. You don't see the future. You don't see the implications. You don't see the ramifications. All you see what's in front of your nose. The traveler is davening shouldn't rain. That's being short-sighted. It's also being selfish. Because every country needs rain, and if the country doesn't have rain, then there's going to be a drought, there's going to be starvation. But this guy, he's focused on the here and now. He's taking a trip. He doesn't want it to rain today. Self-centered, and that is what the Kohen Gadol is saying. He's not only referring to the travelers. He's referring to the tefillas that Klal Yisrael offers throughout the year, that they think that this is good for them, or they're praying for the here and now and not for the asid. That's loisikones lefonecha tefillas oivre drachim. That's what it means. That the tefillas oivre drachim, the short-sighted, self-centered, silly tefillas that people daven for. And therefore, this is not something minor. This is something major. Because tefillas Rabbeisai is an integral part of Klal Yisrael. And we want the tefillas to be correct. We want the tefillas to be right. We want the right tefillas to be accepted. That's the Rachaik Miyeshuasi, Divrei Shagasi. And that is Shalaiti Konis Lafanecha Tfilas Oivre Drachim. It's not referring to the short-sightedness of it. It's referring to the whole cloud, that this is representative of the type of tefillas that it's not good that they should be answered. That Rabbi Isai is Ha'ara number 1. Ha'ara number 2, Parshas Kedoshim. Ish avi v'imai tiro v'shabseisai tishmeru ani Hashem. The same pasuk, Ish avi v'imai tiro, a mitzvah sasei deraisa Rabbi Isai of Yiras Kib of Aveim. The Gemara tells us in Masechta Kedushin, Ezel Kovid, Machilehu, Mashkehu, Man Eloi, Malabshai. What is Moira? Lo Yeshev Imkaimai. You don't sit in your father's seat. Lo Yaster Etzvarov. You don't contradict him. You don't even agree with him as a Tanid Messiah because he doesn't need you. That is Moira. Ish Avim Tiro. A din of Moira of, Moira aim. Now, we've had Rabbi Isai many times. We had in Aseres HaDibros, Zocher Sema Shabbos L'Kadshay. What's the connection between Ish Aviv Imutiro v'Shabsai Tishmeru? So the Gemara, in fact, as you know, the Gemara makes the drasha, very famous drasha, that Yochel Omar Loi Aviv Bashel Bishvili, if father says to his son, cook for me on Shabbos, do this for me on Shabbos. Minayin shlo yishmaloi, shenemar yishavi b'im tirove, shabseiti tishmeiru, kulchen chayavim b'chvaydi. Anytime your father will ask you something that is in violation of a halacha, you're not supposed to listen to him. That's what the Gemara dashes in Kedushin. That's the smicha between ish avim tiro v'shabseiti tishmeiru. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky says a very interesting, Lule the Gemara, Pidrush, etc. And it's certainly true, even though it's not what the Gemara darshans. Rabbi Yaakov says a very interesting thing. And this comes with a Maisa as well, Rabbi said. There's a fundamental difference between how we look at elderly people and how the world looks at elderly people. The world looks at elderly people is that they're old-fashioned, they're archaic, they're not with it. They had a nice life, but right now, they're not very productive. And therefore, it's the new generation that's really the star of the show. And it's the new generation that we have to elevate and be machabed. Mashenki Rabbi say by us, it's punk lehepach. It's punk lehepach. there is the concept of this is a previous generation. They were closer to Har Sinai. They're more choshev than us. And therefore we have to revere merely the fact that the person's an elderly person, he deserves our respect. And the younger generation has to mechabed the older generation. And we have to revere and protect the elderly people. You know, I have some extra time on my hands these days, so I'm listening to a lot of shiurim. So Rav Osher Weiss, the well-known Paisik who we've spoken out many times in Eretz Yisrael, he's shrying Chai V'Kayim against the Misrad HaBriyut in Eretz Yisrael that wants to open up more things, or even the people that have these minyanim, these renegade minyanim. He says, Rabbi Isai, you guys are in your 20s. You should not catch the virus and you should all be well. But for a person who's in their 20s, but they're a klal, unless they have other medical issues, you don't have to worry about COVID-19. But for people who are over 60, 65, certainly over 70, these are the people that we have to protect. And therefore, Yisrael Chai V'Kayim, in Klal Yisrael, we revere the elderly. Umas Ha'olam by the Welt, he's over the hill. Oh, this guy, new guy. But that's not like by us. That's why, he's very upset about Shuwais. If you maybe not worried about yourself, but worried about your parents or your grandparents. And by the Umas Ha'olam, Rabbi Isai, it's not like that. The glorious youth as a dogish on youth. So Rabbi Yankov says, you know what that comes from? This fundamental philosophical difference between how we look at the elderly and how they look at the elderly. It comes from Rabbi Isai, whether you believe in Darwin's theory of evolution or not. Because if you believe in Darwin's theory of evolution, man evolved from a primate. And therefore, your great, whatever it was a monkey. And therefore, the generation after that, and generations after that, the further you got from the first man, from the first human, from the first primate, or Homo sapien, so that's further away from monkeys. So the further away you are from the origin, the more advanced you are, the more civilized you are, etc. But if you believe that the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, and we started out with Adam Harishon, which was Yitzir Kappa of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and there has been over the generations the Yeridas Hadairis, because the further we get from the previous generation, the less we are, not the more we are. So that's the difference, whether you revere youth or whether you revere age. It depends where you believe you came from. And there's a famous story with Rabbi Kamenetsky that goes with this Yesod that Rabbi Yankov says. Rabbi Yankov was either going to or from the Knessia Hagdolah in Eretz Yisrael. They used to have this many years ago. Gdolim from all over the world came to Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yankov went. He was an old man already, into his 80s. So he was accompanied by his son, Rabbi Avram Kamenetsky, one of his sons who's already no longer alive. So Rabbi Yankov sat in first class as an old man, and the son sat in economy. Throughout the whole flight, this son, Avram Kamenetsky, would come to make sure his father's all right, to bring him something, to get him up his pillow from above, to get him a blanket, to get another drink. Mamish, mishamishim, the entire 10 hours or 12 hours that the flight takes. Rabbi Yankov was sitting next to a member of parliament, a Chiloni, not a frum person. And finally, this guy is witnessing how Rabbi Yankov's son is being mishamish him. And he says to Rabbi Yankov, he says, you know, I envy you. My children don't treat me like that. My grandchildren certainly don't treat me like that. Yeah, I'm mamish jealous of you. You know, your son treats you mamish like, you know, with yiras hakoved. Why? And why not by us? Rabbi Yankov told him this part. It depends on where you believe man came from. Did man come from a monkey, and therefore the further away you are, the better you are? Or did man come from Adam Harishan, Yitzir Kappa of the Rebbeinu Shalom? And there has been this constant evolvement of the Yeridas Hadaris. That's what he told the man. You know, I told you I just listened on Tuesday night to the Hespedim of the Novominsker Rebbe. So the last maspid was his son, Rabbi Yeshua Perlau, the next Novominsker Rebbe. So the Novominsker Rebbe's father was a Rebbe here in America. And it was a very, very choshev immense. The Rashiva Zatzar of Ruderman was mechabed him tremendously. So he said over that he remembers when the Novominsker Rebbe, the first one, the grandfather, was still alive, and the Novominsker Rebbe Yaakov Perla would be at the seder of his father. He didn't say a word. He didn't say his pshatim, of which he had many. He was a prolific mechaber, his prolific darshan, etc. He says he didn't say a word. He sat there keben eitz alaviv, because that's the way it should be. So Zok Rabbi Yankov, now we know pshat in the pasuk. Ish avi v'imo tiro. You know why? Because v'esashaysai tishmayru. Sorry. V'esashaysai tishmayru. Because the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I created the world. I created man. There's a Messiah going back to Adam Arishan, going back to me. That's why Ish Avivi Mitiro v'Shamsais Tishmeira. Because you have to believe in Brias Ha'olam. You have to believe that Rebbeinu Shalom created human beings. And therefore, we're mechabed our older people. And that's the kesher between Es Ish Avi Tiro v'Shamsais Tishmeira Ani Hashem. And finally, Rabbi, I want to tell you over one last ha'ara on Parshas Kiddushim, which comes with what I think is a beautiful, beautiful Maisa. You'll recall, Rabbi Isai, that on Sunday we learned the Ramban al Atera, we learned the mitzvah of Ahavta l'recha chamecha, which the Ramban told us is not merely a mitzvah of emotion. And in fact, it doesn't have to be a mitzvah of emotion. You don't actually have to love your neighbor like you love yourself. But you have to treat the person with the kindness and the sensitivity and the generosity that you want for yourself. Like that Ramban said, that you have to want that he should have it just as good as you. He should have as much money as you. He should have as nice a car as you. He should have as good children as you, etc., etc. And don't let kina stare you this mitzvah. That's what the Ramban says. It's a mitzvah of how to treat people, how to care for people. That's what the mitzvah is about. It's a mitzvah that has to do more with your hands than it has to do with your heart. V'ahavta l'reacha, the Ramban says. Not es reacha, l'reacha. because it's a mitzvah of pa'ula, of acting, of doing. Azay zok the Ramban. So I want to share you over a story that I heard this week. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Maisa Shahaya, there was a woman who had lost her husband several years ago, and she always would have Pesach with her children. Being that she was an elderly woman, and as you all know, no kids at anybody's Seder this year, at least not married children who don't live with you anymore. So she was looking at the specter of making a Seder all by herself. By herself, a woman. And Rabbi said there were probably hundreds, if not thousands, of women and men that had to do this. I don't know if you know, but Rabbi Eisgrau in the yeshiva. So unfortunately, he lost his wife a couple years ago. He had to make Pesach for himself, and his kids couldn't come. That's very, very tough. Very tough. So this woman was looking at this. What she was thinking of would be a miserable Pesach. Her alone with her by herself. So her neighbors did a beautiful thing. Her neighbors said, listen, we know that you're going to be alone. We know you can't come to us. We have children. We will put our dining room table next to our window, a window that faces your house. You'll open the window. We'll open the window. You'll mamash hear everything that we're saying, and you will be part of our Seder. V'kachava. That's what they did. She was their Seder, just in a different room. But that's not where the story ends. Motzai Yontef Harishan, the woman calls up her children and says, it was a fantastic Seder. It was beautiful. Not only was it beautiful, but you won't believe this. They sang the same songs that Daddy used to sing. And Mamish felt like I was at Daddy's Seder, like we do it. The same tunes. I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if you read Mishpacha magazine. Mishpacha magazine sent an email to many different people before Pesach. There are a lot of people making Pesach for the first time. Children, they never made a Seder. They're always by their parents, always by the in-laws. What do you have to advise? What would you advise people about? What's important to give over at the Seder? So I responded. I said, you have to give over about Emunah and to see the Yad Hashem and even tell over how you see the Yad Hashem in your lives. And then I said another thing. I said, and make a point of giving over how you sing those songs at the end of the Seder. Echa miyedeya, adir hu, kilo noya, kilo yoya, chad gadya, etc., etc. That's very important. That's your Messiah. Make the point of that. Give that over to your children. So the woman tells her children, it was mamish, the same song. I couldn't believe it. I felt mamish like it was at Daddy's Seder. Then here's the rest of the story. Before Pesach, that family, those neighbors, called up her children and said, what are the songs that your father used to sing? And not only did they sing it for them, they recorded it for them. And this family practiced those songs. And that's how they knew the songs. That, Rabbi Say, is what the Ramban means, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that you should want it as good as possible for the neighbor. Do whatever it takes. Do. Forget about love. Everybody loves, I love you. Everybody will, I love this. That's baloney. But do we can do. And that's a real example of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I thought it was a very, very moving story, beautiful story, and a lot to learn from that story. So Rabbi Say, that's it for this Parshas HaShavua Shir. This is our second week learning remotely. I don't know how each of you feel, but I think it's going very well. I think that it's been good, and I think you've been orangutan, and I'm very pleased for that. And I hope you're going to continue learn with your chavrusas, etc. So as I told you yesterday, Moshe Chaim Golian, who's the producer, director of this whole remote learning, he's going to send out, if he hasn't sent out already, he'll send out sheet number 4. On Sunday at 12:15, we will have Ramban al Atera, Parshas Emor, hopefully. And you will start sheet number 4 if you haven't started already. And on Monday, Rabbi Isai, we will have Shir on sheet number 3, the Sugya of Shemen. We won't really start the next Sugya, at least saying Shir on the next Sugya, until Tuesday at the earliest. And with that, Rabbi Isai, I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos, a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, wherever you may be, wherever your nusach is. And keep it up, Rabbi Isai, and take care of your parents, take care of certainly your grandparents, and be as stark as you can under these very trying and difficult circumstances.
Shabbos, Rebbe.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos, Rebbe.
Good job.
Shabbos, Rebbe.
Thank you so much.
Shabbos.